Now we've got to the best of the best. The Pixar movies that I personally see as why this studio is the king of computer animation. Here are my top 10 favorite Pixar films of all time. Number 10, Turning Red, the latest movie in the filmography that brings the feeling of a 2000s teen movie to animation, which is what I dreamed of for the medium, delivering a coming-of-age story about puberty and self-discovery. The sheer concept of a girl turning into a giant red panda that ties into her ancestry. Stylized animation that resembles classic animes and modern cartoons. Characters that share vibes of 2004 Sleepover. And music that breaks ground for Pixar by blending its original score with pop songs, whether it's the two licensed songs or the fictional boy band 4Town. Donishi knocked out of the park with this one, and I hope that Oscar-nominated short directors like her can shine through in this new age of Pixar movies that brings them back to the decade that this one takes place. 4Town forever, dudes. Number 9, Monsters University. This is the Pixar movie that everyone's sleeping on. Unlike the other movies in this ranking, nobody talked about Monsters University after its release. This deserves more attention. It is a great origin story for Sully and Mike, a great college movie, and a great animated comedy with a solidly executed story, creative designs and effects, brilliant humor, and stellar development on the characters. It's not the most underrated Pixar movie, but it is damn close. It's also the only animated film of 2013 that I really liked. Sure, Despicable Me 2, Frozen and Epic were also good, but they weren't great enough to salvage all the Cleveland steaming garbage that the year gave us. From Escape from Planet Earth to Cloudy Meatballs to Planes to Freebirds to especially Turbo. I'll talk about that in my DreamWorks ranking. Back to Monsters University. It may not be the perfect college movie, but it is a damn good scarer. But not actually scary. Number 8, Toy Story 4. After the perfect ending in Toy Story 3, nobody wanted this to get made, and I can understand where the backlash came from. But when we watched this fourth installment, it proved that there was a bit more to tell after 3. In this 2019 sequel, Bonnie and her toys go to a carnival with a homemade friend called Forky, and Woody gets flashbacks of Andy, since he was given away. So he shows the sport what it's like to be a toy. The theme of this movie is finding a purpose, and protecting those you love, which is greatly suitable for the real final film to this iconic franchise. The animation is a perfect example of how far Pixar's animation and computer animation has gone since 1995. The rendering and textures have knocked it out of the park. The characters in this installment are at their best, and they're like real people that you have connected with for a long time. Ducky and Bunny are alike, two of the funniest Pixar characters ever created. Oh, and I like Newt Cabin too. In the year this was released, it was a good time for sequels like The Hidden World, Angry Birds 2, Frozen 2, and not the Lego Movie 2. I'll talk about that when I rank the movies from Warner Animation Group. The only good non-sequel animated films that year were Missing Link, Klaus and Spies in Disguise. This fourquel is the perfect way to end the dark age of Pixar movies in the 2010s. Number 7, Finding Dory. Well, it looks like we're still jumping between sequels. This time, it's Finding Nemo, and this is an improvement of its predecessor. The story is more engaging and funnier. The animation is more beautiful, with better-looking human characters. Speaking of which, the characters are better written with strong development on the old, and strong personalities on the new. It expands on the lore behind its title character and her short-term memory loss, which is a great way for audiences to overcome theirs. Short-term memory loss is better than amnesia. Fight me. Just like Toy Story 4, not many people asked for a Finding Nemo sequel, so I can't see where people got confused about this movie's existence. but when it was released in one of the greatest years for animated movies, it blew expectations and became one of the reasons why that year is one of the greatest for animated movies. I'll mention the other great animated sequel from 2016 in my next ranked. As for Dory, it stands out from the other Pixar second installments of the 2010s for not only being the best, but also the most surprising of them all. Number 6, Cars 3. Don't worry guys, this is the final sequel from the 2010s on the top 10, as well as the second to last sequel on this ranking, and this sequel has a nostalgic connection with me. When I was a kid in 2006, I went to the movie theater for a double screening of Ice Age: The Meltdown and the original Cars. I did enjoy Ice Age 2, but Cars on the other hand clicked on me, and I didn't get enough of it throughout the late 2000s. Watching the third installment in 2017 made my sweet 16-year-old self unleash my inner 5-year-old. This film is a masterpiece, not because of what it does on its own, or as a sequel, but it's because of what it doesn't do compared to the second film, and what that means for how future prequels should be. It doesn't have a generic spy story and juvenile humor, but instead an emotional story that goes back into why we watch Cars, and that is racing. It doesn't have decent animation that doesn't excuse the cringy script, but instead the best animation of the franchise that enhances the story. It doesn't have character derailment that ruins the cast of Cars, but instead character development that manages to do these vehicles justice. Instead of being only for kids that haven't even seen the first Cars, this movie is for older Gen Zers that grew up with the first Cars. That's why Cars 3 is the best Pixar film of the 2010s. Just second place to what is number 3 on this ranking.